Hello, filter people, and welcome to another exciting Bow Tie Friday. And I hope this finds you all safe, well, and ready for a good weekend. And Sash, hello to you.
Hello, Chris. Oh my goodness. I look forward to Fridays every day. Every day. I wish it was Friday.
Sash, every day is a Friday.
Yes.
Friday. Especially every day should be. You know, a good attitude is something that you can choose every day. And I think that, people, it takes a while to project and to process and to organise that. It's a skill, people. It's a skill. To have a good attitude is a skill. So work on it every day. There are some things that are going to test you. That's fine. But it's up to you mentally to stay solid, happy within yourself and get done what you need to get done. And every day's a Friday, Sash. Every day's a Friday. There's always a silver lining in every cloud, Sash.
It sure is. Such wise words from Uncle Chris.
Thank you very much, little people, and thank you from Uncle Chriso that says hello on a Friday. Yes.
Yes.
So,
no.
Yes.
Oh, goodness.
Here we are, Sash.
Here we are.
Look, up here in Thailand, I'm going through the situation at the moment where we've got river water. And water here is very cheap, but it runs from a river, which is basically up in the community. And it comes down the hill and there's a bunch of takeoffs to everybody's houses and all of that sort of stuff. And they've basically just got a concrete separator, which is basically the style that they use here. So just a triple separator, nothing sort of fancy between that. And everybody out there knows what a concrete triple separator looks like. The water goes in one end and then there's a weir system where it goes over and under, and then that supposedly takes care of your solids, and then it comes out the other end, and people wash in it and do all of that sort of stuff and take a shower, and away you go. But the situation is that we've got river water which comes through to the house, and I am left with the dilemma that we have water tanks here as well, so we fill up the water tanks, but after every rain that we have here, there's a bunch of brown water that comes through, because obviously the land that's in there comes through. And I thought today what I might do, because people maybe don't know, or people do know, or for a bit of information, is just talk about water treatment in general, and what people, need to ask, the questions people need to ask, and how to go about looking at, because there's so much stuff in water treatment out there. What do you need? What do you actually need to do the job that you need to do? For me, we get our drinking water, we buy our drinking water, that comes in. So we get that delivered every week, which is fine. So I'm not looking at drinking water. What I'm looking at is water that's good enough to put in a washing machine, or water that's good enough to come through a shower, where you don't notice that the water's brown and then think, oh, I've got to change to the water tank because the water's brown, when you're sitting under a shower to start with, figuring it out. I can basically see the filter itself getting brown, and then I know, oh, okay, there's a bit of sand or there's a bit of stuff coming through, so now I'll change to the water tank until that goes. So that's basically what I was going to talk about. So yes, Ash.
Point. Yeah, and I actually think as well that for a lot of our viewers, Chris, that there would be some very similar synergies that come through as well, if not necessarily if everyone's relying on river water like you're experiencing, but also for other applications, because there is a massive drive to see where we can also improve water quality, reuse for other applications, whether it be not necessarily domestic, but also for industrial use.
Exactly.
Because water is such a valuable resource. I agree.
See, that's it. And for industry process, water's a cost. Water is expensive. So if you can at a reasonable cost recycle, reuse, use less process wise to do that, then you're a dollar saved is a dollar earned, as they say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your profit, your bottom line, all of those things come into play with that, which is why I'm still bewildered at the point where projects and companies still feel that water treatment is a last resort. Water treatment is a afterthought. It's a sort of oh yeah, we need new tires for the car, but I'll keep driving it the way it is until I have an accident, and then that'll prompt me to get new tires. It's like
so true.
There's the benefit of getting that, and that's proven. There's a track record for that. So, I don't know. But anyway, the thing is,
I think we should start with solids, because
let's start with
you're talking about something, water turning brown. That's obviously something that you can physically see. Solids, I think, would probably be the outer layer if we're going to look at, everyone loves the movie Shrek, talking about ogres having onions.
As you well know, my outer layer is also fairly solid. And I think it's a good place to start. So let's start with.
Let's go there.
let's go there. Let's go there. Let's go there. So are we going to go there? Yes, we are. So I guess then, if that's the case, is that obviously you've got some water that you start with, whatever that is, whether it's processed water, whether it's water from a river, whether it's water from the ground, whether it's water from a lake, whether it's water from wherever, right? It's just lithium mining, whatever, you're starting with water. Shout out to all our lithium miners out there doing it tough. So you start with water. Then you've got to work out what's in the water, because you've got water, which is basically water, right? You've got RO water that comes out of an RO, which is basically as clean as you away you go. But
for all of our non-engineering folk out there, that is a reverse osmosis.
Thank you very much. Yes. So good for water that has a high salinity and that sort of stuff. The problem is that it creates more salinity, so you end up. But that's another story. So water comes in. You got to work out what you've got in the water.
Yes.
So no matter what you do with the water, you got to take the solid out. So, Sash, what are the perhaps oleology, for instance, what do they use to take the solids? So you've got different sizes of solids and stuff like that. You've got large things you can see. You've got, once you take out those grains of sand and, all the large bits, then your water's brown. So you can see there's still dust and stuff that's in there and bits and pieces. And, dust can range anywhere from basically 0.5 micron to about, 100 microns or something like that generally. So, and your bigger particles are anywhere from 100 to 1,000, like your grains of sand and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So you got to take them out. So, what does oleology do to take out the big stuff at the beginning? What do they do at the front end?
The first action that needs to be taken to fully assess the situation. So to give you an idea, a human hair is 50 micron in size.
Yep.
So if we start looking at that and then trying to evaluate, when you said that things such as sand or other larger solids can settle out. And I think that's a really common, acceptable practice that a lot of people will rely on. But when you're dealing with huge volumes of water, huge reliance on needing that water at a specific time, then you don't have the time to wait for it to settle.
Right.
So those little particles that you were saying, those finer, silty solids that you see, and it starts maybe discoloring the water, that's when you need to make more of a, potentially you could be proactive and provide a pre-treatment. So what oleology does is that they first assess how is those solids presented in the water. And for those out there who aren't aware, and like what Chris was saying with assessing what's in the water, to do a simple particle size distribution test, a PSD test. And that will tell you what size microns are presented over the full spectrum that's present in the water.
So that comes out, just to stop you there, that'll be presented in like a bell curve, will it? So you've got all your micron sizes from really small to really big, and then by that bell curve, you can see where your major sort of micron sizes are sitting. Is that how that sort of comes out?
Yeah, 100%.
Beautiful.
So once you actually, so now you're not playing any sort of guessing game. You actually know exactly what the root cause is. It's really easy for a lot of those really large particles to settle out, and they will very quickly. But then when you get to the smaller ones, so when you start looking at anything that's starting to be around 30, 20, 10, 5 micron in size, that gets really hard, and they don't settle out. They can very slowly settle out, but like you said, you got demand. If you need the water, you're going to have to take action. So Oleology uses as one source a organic proprietary blend called Regen. This media is really good at removing solids down to 2 micron in size. So then this alleviates anything else that's downstream. So very good point, Chris, that you made on the reverse osmosis systems. A lot of people rely on that. But if you have anything else that's really big and it starts blocking those membranes, well, what can you do to elongate the life of those membranes? By protecting it. So there's and it doesn't have to be just on ROs, could be on other systems, but pre-treatment for something like that. A lot of people use sand, glass. Interestingly, glass is actually going to be outlawed very soon and is already in a lot of European countries because it doesn't actually break down too easily. So they're starting to make changes to legislation to make sure that, I suppose, everyone is achieving the same outcome, compliance, right? And so with that, this organic media, the Regen that I was talking about, that is excellent, and it has a hardness scale. So for those scientists out there who may be familiar with the Mohs scale,
the Mohs scale. Love the Mohs
scale. If I had a whiteboard, I'd be chalking down some equations right now. But essentially, diamond sits at 9. And it's like an exponential curve up. And the Mohs scale, so diamond being at 9, sand sits around 3. And this Regen media sits between 5 and 7. So a lot harder, more durable. So it means that when it captures the solids and has a greater surface area, so it can capture more. Then when you need to release it by simple backwashing, then it's not shearing on itself. So you actually get some additional wins. That this media will last longer in comparison to other conventional methods. So there's a few more wins that are available to a lot of people out there who are looking for
so rather than
simple.
just using your sand and using your potentially, banned glass beads and stuff like that, I mean, people are still using glass beads in things like swimming pool filters, all right, stuff like that. They're still running those. And I think they were originally running the glass beads because of the hardness, because of the Mohs scale that you were talking about, and the fact that when they used sand, they had to change that sand out a lot sooner within that filter than they did with the glass beads. But from an environmental point of view, everybody's seen that those glass beads, like microplastics and stuff like that, are generally sort of kind of not good for the environment, and that's come through. So they're making a change for that. But the Regen media sounds like a great product for that, for that application. And certainly using with bulk media, it's all about obviously contact time and stuff like that. So it's better to have a bulk media housing, which is a little, depending on your water flow, and I guess they're all designed for water flow and how much water needs to go through them at a particular time. But generally something that's a bit thinner and something that's a bit taller, so you've got more of basically the media so the water has to travel through the media longer in order to get through to do what it needs to do, and for that Regen media to collect the particles and do that on the way through. A lot of these bulk media housings, just to be clear, with the viewers out there, pump the water basically into can pump the water into either the top and then into the bottom, or they pump it into the bottom first and then they take it out at the top. So it depends how those particular units are organised. Some have a spear that goes all the way down to the bottom. And then the water goes through and then comes up. Others of them just spray the water out on the top and the water seeps through the bed from there, and then it's collected at the bottom and taken out. So there's a few different ways that works, but a taller unit with that Regen media is a good option, not a short, fat one, Sash. I've noticed over here that, being short and fat myself, that it doesn't sort of kind of work out too well. So being more tall and thin is a good option, I've found.
It is a healthier option. You're 100%
It is a healthier
Chris.
option. And, it's obviously healthier for the environment as well when they've
Yeah.
sort of got something that's tall and thin working for them as well. So,
well, here's a fun fact as well. Even when the Regen media is, has, I've known sites that after 14 years. Huh?
Hey, how long?
What are you saying?
How long is the Regen media lasting? What's going on?
Regen media lasts, up to 8 years.
Oh,
so pretty good.
Unbelievable.
But even after that, Chris, you actually could even use it as, they actually use the media as well for football fields because it's so excellent as a slow release, agent to aid in fertilizer and regrowing of grass. How cool is that?
That's outstanding.
So, one big circle. Closed loop. Excellent.
Well, we live in the age, Sash, where we've got to start thinking about, it isn't about today. It's all about, okay, what I do today, how's that going to affect tomorrow? When you get into businesses and stuff, you start talking shareholders. Hello to all of our shareholders out there, and allegedly. And, you got to look at the future. You got to look at a company needs to have an environmental presence. They need to have, there's a whole bunch of things. We're not living back in the 40s. We're not in dark suits and black and white Mad Men style. Although sometimes I do like that era, and I definitely go for a good whiskey and a cigar every now and again, allegedly. But we need to have those views, and I think that companies need to be accountable for what they can do to the environment. And if they can show that as a process and they can use the material with that at the end of what they're doing, then that material can then be used, within communities and all of that sort of stuff. And not like the early days where, asbestos was mined up at Wittenham and then the asbestos was used on, golfing greens up there and in the middle of the towns and all of that sort of stuff, because people at the time didn't realise what asbestos was and what it did. So there is that accountability, and I think it's sounds like a great product and people should know about it. Regen. That's it. Get onto it, people. What are you doing? Why are you still
Comes with a free set of steak knives.
Why are you still using glass beads and bloody, and I've heard, Sash, that people are still using carbon as a bulk media for removing solid. Right?
Yeah. Well, look, maybe it's also what they don't know. I'm going to be completely diplomatic here and maybe they just don't know what else is out there. So,
I'll tell you, Sash, I know they're stupid, absolutely ridiculous. I mean,
yes.
It'd be like buying a supercar just to go next door to drop the stuff off in your to another person's house. It's like, what?
Yeah.
It's not even designed for that. Like it isn't. It isn't what it's for. Like I don't know. Like that's just
maybe we'll have to save that one for another video, Chris, and we can explain.
I think we will. So just to recap, Sash.
Yeah.
Just to recap. So everybody out there, so you've got water, processed water, whatever it is you need to do. You need to use that water for a particular purpose. Everybody needs to take solids out of the water no matter what they do. You know, whether it's for, you know, farming may not need to. There might be some other things. However, to get those other things out of the water that you need to get out for farming, you've got to get rid of the solid to start with, because you're working in the micron sizes of large to small. So the issue is you can't just take the small things out and leave the big things in. You can't do that. So the idea is that you've got to, as Sash said, with the settling, you do something to settle out the big stuff that comes out first, fast, if you need to do that. But if you need to use the water quickly and you haven't got the opportunity of doing that, then you need to do something like the regen, like the bulk media housings, like that sort of situation, in order to take that bulk stuff out. But the big stuff needs to come out before you take out the small stuff. That's pretty much where it's at. You need to work out what's in the water. So particle size distribution, and I gather Sash Oleology offers that as a service. So we need to, you know, give them a call. Basically, numbers on the bottom, as they normally say in YouTube videos, whatever. I could say up in the corner, but who knows? The card's up in the corner. And get them to do a particle size distribution so you could find out what size particles are in your water to start with. What are you dealing with? You know, basically, you know where you want to go. That's regulation, government, land, whatever it needs to be. You know how clean processed water, how clean that water needs to be at the end. What you don't know is what's at the beginning. So work out what you've got in the beginning, and that is a simple, small costing. That costing is well worth it in the savings that you'll find in working out what treatment you need in the middle, because you'll save a lot of money by doing that first rather than just put something in that you don't need. Correct. So particle size distribution, do a few tests on your water, work out what the pH is, other bits and pieces, how much salinity you've got in there. There's a number of different tests you can do for drinking water and other bits and pieces. Get them all done, people. I mean, if it's $3,000 or $4,000 or whatever it is, it's going to save you at the end of the day getting the right system for the whole deal, and you know what you're working with. So get that done at the start, right? Business, right? Tax deduction. Hello, do I need to say anything more about that? Crazy.
Uncle Chris coming out with the goods every day.
Get that done at the start, even if you're in a household, right? And you're going to put in a water treatment system in your house. Get a drinking water test done, right? That at least, in oleology, even though they may not and they can help you with the drinking water side of things, it's not really what they do. They're more of an industrial, big mining, oil and gas sort of company. But they can do the test for you, people. They can get that organised.
Very simple.
You know, you get that test done, you work out what you've got in your water, then you work out the stages that you need to clean your water. It's pretty easy, right? Nobody goes to a food hall and stands there in the market and tries to work out what they want to eat and just pick something. You need to figure out what you want to eat first and then go and look for it, right? So
correct.
Test first. Particle size distribution. Work out what you've got, and then your bulk solids. Go after that to remove your bulk solids.
You got it. That's
it. And in the next session, Sash, we'll talk about filters.
Let's. Yeah. Sounds good to me.
Go there. So,
we're going there.
We're going there to filters. So we'll talk about nominal filters. We'll talk about, you know, absolute filters. We'll talk about micron size filters. We'll talk about different types of filters. We'll talk about the wonderful MySelex filter, which is designed and engineered to remove oils and hydrocarbons from water. I believe, Sash. We'll do that.
Yeah, a few extra things too. So stay tuned.
Stay tuned. So, to all the people, thank you very much for getting to this end of this video. Get in touch with Oleology, obviously details below if you need to get any of that testing or stuff done. And look, every every year or couple of years, I would get testing done on the water anyway, at the start, regardless of what you're doing, because you never know whether that water quality has changed slightly in the period of time that you've been dealing with what you've been dealing with. So
Really good point.
always, you know, every year, every 2 years, at least get a particle size distribution done and water quality done to make sure that you're still running what you need to run. Okay.
Yes.
So that's the first thing, and obviously stay well, Sash.
Chris,
Stay. What's the next one?
stay happy.
Stay happy, and
Value your time.